Hey guys, Useless here, and those Marvel Netflix shows were certainly a thing, weren't they? You'd be forgiven for forgetting about their existence because they really just petered out of relevancy. It felt like less and less people talked about them as they went along, and eventually Netflix just canceled them. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because there was more good Marvel Netflix than bad, in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, the lows were pretty low, but my god, were the highs high. Daredevil is, in my opinion, not just the best thing that Marvel has ever done, but it's one of my favorite shows of all time. Jessica Jones, it faltered in its second season a bit, but I actually really appreciate the show overall. I thought season 3 was surprisingly good, although I don't think anybody watched it. Luke Cage's first season went downhill in the second half after they killed off Cottonmouth, but I thought season 2 was a pretty big improvement, and that cliffhanger at the end actually left me intrigued to see where they would go in a season 3. Iron Fist season 1 is obviously trash, but I'll be honest, I liked season 2. I don't even know if that's like a popular opinion or not, or if it's like considered to be just as bad as season 1, but I straight up liked season 2. I'll say it. The Defenders wasn't amazing, but it was a ton of fun, and I thought that the cast had really good chemistry with each other. Then there's The Punisher. The first season was pretty solid, although I thought the second one was a bit of a mixed bag, but even still, I thought John Bernthal was great in the role, and I wanted to see more of him. So yeah, overall, I think these shows are pretty solid. The 3 seasons that we got of Daredevil and Jessica Jones season 1 are by far the best. They're at the top of the pack, but I still think that most of the others are pretty enjoyable. So why did they ultimately lose relevance and fail? Well, I honestly think that this is a case of oversaturation. Marvel and Netflix attempted to emulate the MCU model, make individual series for each heroes that lead up to a big team-up show. I mean, that model makes assloads of money for the movies, so why wouldn't it work for the shows? Well, it is possible to have too much of a good thing. There is just too much content. Marvel may release 3 movies a year, pre-pandemic obviously, but watching a 2 to 2.5 hour movie every few months isn't that big of a commitment. On the TV show side of things, however, they released 13 seasons of Marvel Netflix in the span of 4 years. That's 161 episodes. Like, I honestly can't blame anybody if they just fell off at some point. Not to mention that Netflix will drop all of the episodes in their season at once. So if you wanted to be a part of the conversation, you would have to watch all of those episodes in a weekend, essentially. And man, if the show isn't all that great, that process can be pretty miserable. So yeah, no wonder people looked at 13 episodes of Luke Cage Season 2 and went, you know what? I don't need to watch this. And while Daredevil Season 3 was absolutely incredible, I can't really blame people for skipping it because they were probably burned out on everything else. I truly wonder if these shows would have done better with a week-to-week release schedule. I don't have a life, so I personally like binging, but I can't deny that week-to-week releases just work better for growing a show. Just look at The Mandalorian and The Boys. Every week that a new episode came out, we would talk about that episode, and we were all raving about it, and every week more and more people were going like, hey, you know what, maybe we should jump onto that show, The Boys, or the Mandalorian. And you know, by the end of the year, those 2 shows were 2 of the most viewed streaming shows. The Marvel Netflix shows, on the other hand, were bleeding viewers every season who got burned out, and they just weren't picking up new ones because, you know, people who watched the shows, they talked about them in a weekend and then just stopped because the show is over, you know? There's no hype building up. But however these shows may have survived, the truth is that they're dead. The future of Marvel streaming shows lies within Disney Plus, with shows like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, etc. Will they experience the same fate as the Marvel Netflix shows? I personally think they look amazing, but is it going to be too much? They are going to have a week-to-week release schedule, so that's probably a good thing, but honestly, we'll just have to wait and see. At the end of the day, though, I think that the Marvel Netflix shows were an interesting experiment that I personally enjoyed. They gave me one of my favorite shows of all time, and they were trying to tell different, more mature stories under the Marvel banner that's completely different from what we're getting on the big screen, and I think it's a shame that they ended up petering out and, you know, dying a sad death. Although I still implore you to watch Daredevil. I'm serious. If you watch The Defenders before season 3, it totally works on its own. Watch it! But anyways, what do you think? Did you enjoy watching the Marvel Netflix shows, or did you end up getting burned out at some point? Do you think that like a different release schedule could have salvaged these shows, or do you just think that at the end of the day it's too much and people just don't want to watch that much Marvel? Let me know in the comments below. Also, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video every Monday at 12 o'clock, and bye.